All right.
That means we gotta stop time.
That's what I was gonna say.
Classroom behavior.
There are some things that they're willing to say that I'm like, oh, you guys said that, I mean.
It should be live.
Yes, thank you.
I was worried about safety. I was like, I don't know. Could be friends together.
Hi, how's it going? Okay, so I think at the last time we had kind of dished out some homework for both sides on things that we wanted to bring back today. And so I didn't know if there was a specific place that we wanted to start.
Okay. We do plan time, is that fair? Because I feel like that one's.
Okay, and then I think also I think one of the pieces last time was the update to the language. And I think I have those ready to go, so I can get those to you guys so that you can look at them, because one of those was that teaching on plan proposal. So the 1 to 9 days, kind of like we had talked about, would be the class cover rate, and then the 10-day would be that supplemental contract. And then if they worked that, then we go back almost 1 to 9 days. So I'll get that sent to you guys. And then yeah, just as a reminder, since it's been a couple weeks since we met, if you guys, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding, but just so there's no lack of clarity and I can take some notes, if you guys would remind us again what the ask was on plan time.
We're asking to make sure that the teachers are getting their full amount of plan time without an elementary and middle school. Is two different kinds of beasts. The elementary is the full plan time, finding solutions for a few minutes here or a few minutes there that drain the teachers 20 minutes of plan time. Some teachers want to keep their split time, and we don't want to interfere with the building like that. We just want to make sure that that time is, they're getting their time.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think, and I know Amy had looked at that information. I think she was confident that if that was the route we thought we needed to go for next year, was backing up all those specials together, that we could do that. So you guys don't think that that necessarily needs.
We had some feedback from some of the elementary, so I think it still depends on the school. And that would be maybe something that the topic of the people that are dealing with this. I don't want to dictate how some people would do the plan according to what's the best for their students and themselves and things like that.
Like I asked my building, mine preferred 25 and 25. They'd rather have 2 breaks. There was a few that said 50 altogether.
And I think in talking to Mr. Skinner, you guys had alternated each year, like 1 year it was back to back and then 1 year it wasn't, from my understanding.
I think I'd take that to that.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that they work with, you guys split with Central, so that comes into play too.
It does.
Yeah, but I was thinking your ask was going to be that everybody have back to back, so that's what we worked on to see if it was even feasible and humanly possible to do that.
I asked after that.
Okay.
I don't know about the school.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make
It
sure
would
that,
just be a building choice.
Yeah, and I think if I can just let them know it's a building choice on one or the other, just to try to protect that.
yeah, like it's about the few minutes before when a teacher has to wait for somebody, or the or the elective is, choir, or we call them electives at the middle school. They are waiting for the class before to be picked up because somebody's late. That transition there then puts somebody else losing their planned time. We thought of maybe if there was a way to try to find that, like, pick up, drop off para, that might help in some manner.
In some ways, this kind of seems like a maybe issue that maybe our committee could maybe keep tabs on, but not necessarily add language to the negotiated agreement. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't think we're asking to have the language changed
Okay.
because it clearly states what that is. But we wanted to protect that time a little bit better. And so that's why we brought the elementary into it at this point. I mean, if we could ever feasibly figure out how to give a little bit more plan time, that would be a wonderful world. But we realized with constraints of requirements for minutes and students and things like that. But the main target of the plan time addition is actually at middle school level. Because they're the lowest level of minutes, 210 minutes. And then if you have to cover one day, you're down 42 minutes from there, you're at below 200 minutes. We're at 190, 180-ish minutes. And Amy, just, some people have mentioned that when they do like certain meetings, like their PLC meeting, that sometimes the whole plan is being taken, the whole 50 minutes, instead of giving them the 20 minutes. So just because of that language, I don't know, maybe it's a question to people.
Can you say that again? They are getting their other 20 minutes?
So in our negotiated agreement, under plan time, I gotta find it again.
Page 27.
27, Article 8. Yes, we're all getting fairly good at this. It talks about no portion of such day will be less than 20 minutes for individual planning. To be clear, an elementary teacher shall receive at least 20 minutes every day for individual planning.
Right.
Which sometimes I've heard that our elementary teachers are pulled into like a PLC and they are doing the whole 50 minutes of their plan in PLC and not getting their 20 minutes of personal.
Okay, usually when they have a 15-minute plan, and I can look at the schedules here while you guys visit, but how that has worked in the schedules that I've noticed is if they have a 50-minute of PLC, then say that's in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they would have like 25 minutes of counselor or 25 minutes of library or 50 minutes of library so that they make up for that, that 50 minutes of PLC. Does that make sense? So they still get 20 minutes of plan that day. It just comes in the form of something other than PE or music.
Yeah.
And I can double check that that's the case, but that's the way that it appears on the master's schedules. Yeah. So I'm sorry, do what?
Our school does.
Yeah, and I know that's the way, the only one I wanna check for sure would be Bright Beginnings. But I think theirs is a little bit different and they have their friends time, which is kind of like our counselors, so. I'll double check that that's the way it is, but it should be 25 minutes then a minimum on the opposite end of their PLC day.
We appreciate you looking into that. It's
Yeah.
just something that somebody had mentioned in a few, so just wanted to make sure. So the middle school, we're just asking for one of our team days, team times to be changed into personal plans so that we are more aligned with the 250 minutes a week.
Anybody have any additional questions regarding plan? You guys want to caucus for a little bit and talk about that?
Is there anything else to talk about?
I think we,
Caucus or
probably jump into Article 17 to give you a little bit more things to talk about. That goes along with our retirement language that we presented to you right at the end of the last time.
Okay, yeah, that would be great, Angie, if you could talk about, I know you guys are gonna see some clarity on what it was exactly you were looking at for that. So that would be awesome. If you guys could get that for us.
So as a reminder, we asked where the buyout, or not the buyout, this additional part for the retirement for somebody in, sorry, that is my daughter calling. No, that's actually my husband. Sorry. Where, gotta find it in our thing. I think it's on page 62.
Are you talking about the
65, Article 21. So the retirement has two places. This is the first one we talked about, where we asked to have 15 years of in-service, have kind of a laddered 15 years of in-service, $1,500 for that, 20 years of in-service, $2,500, and anybody who spends 25 years of service, $3,000 on this page. That was to the district on this one. This one was with the district.
and the ask is sent to the district?
That was that one. Like I said, it's in different places.
I think the other one's on page 46.
It is on page 46, and this one is a little different. So on page 46, in the section above the non-chargeable temporary, we asked to change the wording, at the end of each year, teachers may sell back 2 of their personal days. Instead of saying at the rate of 125, anywhere it says at the rate of 125 on that, we'd like to change it to at the current year's sub rate. And then at the bottom for the retirement, because that affects the retirement as well. We proposed adding a 5 to 9 years for teachers in service at 25% of the total employees unused sick. A 10 to 19, make it 50% instead of the 25. The 20 to 29, make it 75%. And then the 30 plus of certified, this stays 100.
Can you say those again? I'm sorry.
No problem. So we proposed adding a 5 to 9 years of teacher service, certified service at 25% of the total employees unused sick leave. That's the buyback percentage. 10 to 19 years, change that to a 50% instead of 25. 20 to 29, change that to 75 instead of 50. And then keep the 30 plus 100%. We are saying to change these things. The reason we're asking to have the buyback language for veterans changed is because it encourages veterans to save their leave when they're getting ready to retire instead of burn. So it's not a burn through it or lose it kind of thing. Plus you gain a little bit more financially when you're getting ready to retire. If we do if the district does choose to move to PTO, personal time off, then it encourages everybody else to also save it for when they go to leave, retire. And the 125 changing to the current sub rate just allows it to be more aligned with what's going on in the timeframe. We feel that could be used as a recruiting tool for teachers who are more veteran but still have years to give to a district.
Could also be a retention tool as well. We've got a teacher that's 2 or 3 years away from retirement. They might be more willing to stick around to jump to that last level.
Anybody else have any other clarifying questions? Recall this?
I don't think so. That was
What's the time? 15 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, yep, and then did you guys wanna stay in here or did you wanna use the?
We'd like to use that room.
So 4:45.
See, how it's not me. Yes, I
Just saying.
Yeah, I usually, but my husband doesn't. Did he show us how to mute this?
Okay, microphone's back on.
Thank you.
So on the plan time, I think a lot of our conversation was, we understand things kind of that we seem to have three different buckets with the three different levels. So you have your elementary that have a lot of individual time, maybe not as, or no, have the individual time that the middle school wants. And then the middle school has the collab that the high school doesn't have, and the board seems a little concerned about not having, that as we're having this discussion, not talking about the high school aspect of needing more collab time, which we understand is going to probably be a lot of the conversation, or some of that conversation can't happen until that committee happens with looking at the scheduling and that part of it. So I think part of the conversation is making changes to the plan times when we need to discuss kind of all of it at once. And that maybe we're not ready to do that. Is that an accurate reflection of kind of what we were talking about? So I think that was, at this time, I think we would prefer to not make that change until that committee has had time to discuss it, and make those changes all at once. Then on the Article 17 with the payment of sick days upon retirement, we would agree to the sub-pay that it would just, as opposed to having a dollar amount, that would be, the language would be changed to reflect that it would be, whatever the current sub-pay is for the current school year. But we would ask to keep the years and the percentages the same for right now. And then Article 21, we would like to table, so the 15 years added at 1,500, and then 25 years added at 2,500. If we could table that until we're able to talk money, just as to see how it fits in the total package. So we're not saying no, just like to wait and just see how it fits in to everything.
So on the plan time, you guys are at this time, don't see that taking one of the middle school team times and making a personal plan is not something you're ready to discuss this time.
I think we would be willing to discuss, if you guys would be willing to discuss adding collaboration time. And we just didn't know if that was possible prior to the committee meeting to discuss the scheduling. So I think that was the reason. It's not so much that we wouldn't be willing to discuss it, it's just something that we think needs to be discussed along with increasing collaboration time at the high school.
And then on page 46, you're willing to change instead of saying compensated at the rate of, change that to compensated at the current sub rate for the year.
Yes.
Or the year's current, something like that.
The current year.
Current year, thank you. Okay, but you're going to want to keep the 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and the 30 with 25, 50, and 100.
Yes.
Could we have a couple of minutes to talk with our team real quick about these things?
And then we've got the tabling of the
Article 20.
Tiers, yeah.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
sorry, thank you. Until the conversation with the finance.
Yeah.
We're just gonna, you guys wanna just, do we need to walk all the way down the little?
I don't think so.
Let's step out.
Over here in this little breezeway.
You guys are still live.
Thank you.
You want me to hit it?
Yeah, if you would. That way we can eat in a.
Microphone is back on.
That's our turn. Attention, we're
Do we need to start it again?
I just did.
He just did, yeah.
You're quick.
Yes, yes. Alrighty, for Article, 17, actually, I'm gonna start with Article 21. We are willing to wait and see financially, how that plays into that. So we're willing to hold on that one. I'd like to offer a compromise on Article 17, with the levels and, change the 10 to 19 to a third of the percentage. And then, right,
From a quarter to a third and then
from
from
a half to a
to two-thirds.
2/3.
So 33?
Yes.
From 25 to 33%, and from the 50 to, what is that percent? 66. My brain was not functioning, sorry.
Calculator, that's really exciting.
Well, I think I'm over brain. And if we could do that, then we would be able to agree on that.
Okay,
Angela, could you repeat that one more time? I apologize.
No problem. So we're willing to say, okay, 5 to 9 years, we'll drop that, but let's move our 10 to 19 years to a 33% buyback. And our 20 to 29 years, a 66% buyback of their dailies. And of course, the 30 is at 100.
This one's out.
Step out and talk about it.
Yeah, thank you.
That one.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Get a few extra steps in.
job.
Sure. Okay. So, we're in agreement on Article 17 on the 33% for 10 to 19, 66% for 19 to 29.
And the current year's daily separate.
Right.
Okay. So we can officially move that over to we got an agreement tentative. Okay. When it comes to the plan time at this time, that is a much bigger conversation, high school, and we're not going to broach that at this point. But while we're on our leave, my question is, have you guys put any more thought into changing everything to PTO from the 7 o'clock?
I may be confusing. I may be confusing which district I'm in, so I apologize if I am. I thought where we kind of left it, I think we kind of wanted language or at least proposals as to how it would work, or am I confusing my districts?
We just asked to have it changed, but I don't think there was any other conversation about it.
Okay, because I think sometime, and I may have said this somewhere else, but is just the idea of how it works in relation to, you know, when you have a sick leave pool, or you have, like, are we talking it's discretionary and then it rolls over into sick? Is it discretionary forever? You know, just kind of some of those workable pieces. I think that's more what, until we could see kind of how it all works in the grand scheme of the agreement and that, I think we were just waiting.
Okay.
So I don't think we said no because we just really haven't had something to know really what we were looking at, so.
And we might have had that conversation and I might have missed.
I want to say it was maybe right at the end of the last meeting.
And I'm in the same boat as you because of bouncing around places, but for some reason I'm thinking, and again, I don't know if it was here or if it was somewhere else where we decided that we would try to workshop some language.
Okay.
Or if it was, we were going to try to hash that out and debate it in real time, which was the case.
Yeah, I remember the conversation of what other kind of domino effect does it have, and I don't remember where we were going with
The biggest domino effect I hear from this is that if everything is over on PTO, then people will just burn it all willy-nilly. And the places where I see that happening are the ones that don't have any kind of a leave buyback system, or like you have with your retirement buyback that encourages people not to do that, and that incentivizes them not to do that. And since you already have those systems in play, that gives you a leg up for some of the other districts.
And I wouldn't envision that any changes about the buyback, other than instead of saying, well, it just says may sell any of their unused days of their 2 personal, instead of saying 2 personal days, just 2 unused days they can sell back. And not really changing any of the rollover. It would just roll like it does. If you don't ask for the buyback, it rolls over into sick as it is now.
The majority of the districts that I serve, they do that where any rollover, it rolls over as sick, not as the permissive or general leave, or how you phrase it. But I do have one district that rolls over. The first 10 of rollover can be used as permissive, but the district doesn't like that, and I know they want to get rid of that and move that to all SIG for those. And then we had another district that their superintendent was interpreting it a completely different way than what it was intended, to say that if they would have to use those sick days before they could take any of the discretionary days.
Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
Language is tricky sometimes.
And words matter.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's just a situation of, you know, if you guys have language you'd like us to look at, I think we're happy to do that.
We'll make a note and make sure we bring some. You guys brought up, are you guys ready for us to move, or are we?
Okay. Are you guys okay if we move on to talking collab time? I understand if that's down the road a little bit too, so just let me know.
Well, I would like to broach two different subjects before we talk about collab time. The mentor buddy, and then the which page was that one? We had talked about it, we had noticed it, and talked about the special salary schedule. I know that's possible for, to present with you, to you guys, but it might be a bigger picture conversation as well. Under the, page 19 and 20 is what we were talking about, 19 and 20. C and E. But mentor first, then that one. So we had a few questions about the mentor program. Who is the mentor facilitators right now?
The instructional coaches mentor non-specialized teachers. The job description. So the specialized mentors being counselors, librarians, they're defined by the school. So we just maintain and retain that portion of the KSD's language for specialized.
But there's a teacher mentor facilitator, and then teacher mentor first year / second year. So that's like, who's the facilitator?
Technically, it would be Kelly and or myself, but we don't have a facilitator. I'm not aware that anybody's paid to be a facilitator. It's sitting in there, but it's not being used. Because we manage that out of our office or HR.
So our proposal, which would fall under this mentorship program, would to make 3 levels of mentorship, $1,500 for the mentor in year 1, $750 for the mentor in year 2, and $500 for the buddy mentor.
One more time for me, Angie, on the numbers.
No problem. For the $1,500 mentor for 1 year, that's the first year they're mentoring. The second year they mentor $750, not sorry, $750. And then for our buddy mentors, give them a $500. So kind of shift everybody.
Terry, do you know if the state reimbursing mentors, because we've always just paid whatever they pay us.
They're not in, that got taken out last
So
year.
you're just for clarification, you're just talking about specialty, correct?
Well, you guys were talking about having mentors, that it's not just special, somebody could be a mentor depending on what they need, right? So what I'm saying is, I'm new to the district, I teach math, here's my person that's gonna help me, like.
So you're
That's.
talking about, so just for clarity, I wanna make sure I'm on the same thing. So mentor is defined by KSC is required for their licensure. We currently assign mentors for non-specialty teachers or certified staff. Those are our coaches, that's part of their daily responsibility. So I don't think we wanna pay a stipend for doing their daily duties. So there's mentor, then there's specialty mentor, and I think what's been added, we used to have buddies, we took them away because of our PLC structures and principles and the mini sessions and those types of things that at the time, when we removed it, we didn't feel like it was needed, a lot of redundancies in place. But just for clarity, I think what you're talking about, Angelique, is buddy mentors, having that stipend too.
Yes, and, when we were talking, part of what we had discussed was the possibility of, with what you're saying, where you have kind of moved it from being a mentorship program to now that's part of the job for the instructional coaches. If you find yourself in a situation where it is too much work for the instructional coaches to be able to do and still fulfill their other instructional coach duties, to give you the flexibility to also bring in a veteran teacher to fill that role and give them a stipend, because that's not a part of it. It's about giving the district that flexibility to still doing it, but also to increase the pay for that extra duty. And then, yes, the yes part is also to do the buddy part that you were speaking about. So it's both. But yeah, we thought you left it in there. And we felt like you left it in there for a reason, just in case you ever needed to bring it back. So that you could, if say you've got a veteran teacher that is an A+ teacher and you have too many new teachers for your instructional coaches, you need to pass that off. It would give you that flexibility to be able to get a veteran teacher on board as a mentor.
And I think when these were put in, that was the reimbursable rate by the state. And so at this point in time, anything that we were to do that with would be 100% on the district.
Yeah, well, and nobody's billing the current facilitator position, but according to the program right now, nobody's filling the year 1 mentor or the year 2 mentorship.
They are filling it, we're just doing it in their
With the
normal-
instructional coaches, yeah.
their
I'm
normal
saying no
job.
extra is being put on a veteran teacher. This is the instructional coach.
Correct.
So, we are asking in case there is an instructional coach position that can't, maybe they have like 6, 8, almost said the famous, and and they cannot still coach a veteran teacher but new to the district because they have that many long-term subs or that many brand new first-year teachers, then you will need an option as the district to be able to ask another veteran teacher to step in and mentor that.
Because otherwise you'd have to outsource to ASDAC or something.
What we haven't had to do it, but we monitor, sometimes loads change in buildings, but they're more predictable and stable than you really. We haven't had to do it, we could move some coaches around to serve other overflow needs in buildings if we had to. Because we have 3 coaches at the high school, 2 at each of the middle schools, 1 at each elementary. So one school could be light and not have as many teachers on the required 2-year mentor cycle. Could move we've had that as a backup plan, we have.
Well, and this could be another backup plan, is what our presentation is kind of saying, is like, this is how you add the buddy program, is shift everything up in that box. And do instructional coaches also mentor teachers who are on evaluation cycles?
All teachers I'm mentoring 2 years would be under evaluation cycles, but coaches don't do anything. So I'm not sure if I'm understanding what you're asking. The principals do that. I'm sorry,
What about plans of improvement? Would that also be the principal or would that be the instructor?
principal. So we've got it set up to where if the person volunteers, the principal might go to the teacher who's on plan and give them a choice of options, but they don't directly assign first go to, but they're not close to the coach. It'd be a teacher choice. And in that, we're very guarded that the only information that's given back from the coach to the principal is that they met.
Any other questions?
I appreciate the perspective. I would want to think about this, but maybe even hear from Kelly Clark as well before I can respond.
Well, we feel that the minimum, the buddy mentors should go 500. That should be added there.
I may have missed it, but what's, in your mind, what's the responsibility of buddy mentors?
You guys brought that to us, that it was a,
I have that written down.
Yeah.
And I know I missed one meeting, so.
yeah.
Go ahead, Angie.
Okay, so if you look at direct instruction, C, we feel that this actually is also additional days level 2. And when we noticed this, I will tell you, I understood that Jumpstart was paid under direct instruction C, but I've been informed that they're paid under additional days level 2.
Where are you at?
Sorry, page 19 and 20.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those where it kind of is listed twice, but one lists summer school and one doesn't really list Jumpstart, and Jumpstart's not listed. So, which is why I assumed it was on level C, but it's actually level 2. We're proposing to a little bit of consolidation and a little bit more clarity in everything, and basically combine level C with E and move all the levels to level 1. Get rid of level 1, level 2, and level 3.
One more time, Angie.
No problem.
Were you wanting to combine?
Take direct instruction C
On page 19.
on page 19 and basically combine it with level E, E additional days, and just put everything under that as level 1 and not level 2 or 3. Eliminate the 2 and 3, as in the separations.
So everything would be paid
At level 1,
at level 1 regardless of
correct.
what type of work is being performed.
because work is work. Okay.
So that would not affect the student support.
Would not affect,
But that is also.
but that's, well, this one says supervision of school, suspension classrooms, or after school detention, homework, help, timeout, classroom, Saturday school. I mean, we could move that over to level 3 as well and combine it all together.
I mean, is there an appetite to take a look at basically rewording 19 and 20 altogether to, because there's specific levels that
Right.
that
When we discussed it, we had tossed around the idea of coming to the table and just having one rate for everything. And the assumption that you're paying for the time, not for the individual pieces of labor. And,
so
but
you're wanting to go to level 1 for everything.
if humanly possible, but we also didn't want to
Yeah.
overstep.
Right.
And
I
so
think that's
that
a
was
stretch.
that was the point, is like,
Right.
we were trying to find that balance between what makes sense and what is affordable for the district.
Right. I mean, that would be a stretch to say, okay, now all of a sudden, everything is going to be at the teacher's daily rate.
Yeah, and so with that, what we have suggestion, but you wanted to come up with other alternatives, we will certainly entertain, because the goal is to try to improve it and to simplify it, not to max it out and bankrupt the district.
Well, simplification would definitely be good in this 19 to 20 range. So,
But included in that, the catalyst for this is that our people that are doing the work over the summer, particularly with the early childhood, they are kind of feel like taken advantage of financially.
in what way?
Yeah,
The compensation rate is too low for the.
Which people are we talking about
Like
specifically?
Jumpstart.
specifically,
For kinder?
it came to our attention as the kinder is paid, Jumpstart teachers are paid at the 30.58. And just for some historical knowledge, in 2019, the dollars paid at that level was $29.35. So since 2019, in 2020, it moved up to the 30.58. And that has not changed since then.
Okay.
And that would be one of the reasons why we were looking at that, but which is also why I thought C was where they were getting paid. Because C is really like, kind of looking at this, I'm like, I don't understand why we have a C and a level 2.
I would agree with that.
There was a reason. I wasn't clear. I have no idea.
Were those the two? Yeah.
Yeah, those were the
Okay.
only thing on that.
So then the buddy, or I mean, the mentoring piece, and then that piece.
Yes.
Okay.
And just also for some context, I mean, if you're asking a teacher to do Jumpstart at 30.58, you pay a long-term sub $225 per day after the 10 days. That is about $32.70 an hour. So you're asking a certified employee to be paid less hourly than a long-term sub or an uncertified.
Do you guys have any other questions?
No, 10 is not one. 20,
20?
Okay, that's, thank you.
6:20.
Thank you.
6:20.
Yeah, you
Okay, we're back live.
Okay, so, start with, on the mentoring buddy, I think, this is one that I think we'll just, based on what was discussed and maybe, these positions not being filled right now and those types of things, I think we're just gonna pull the buddy mentor and not add that, for this year and just continue the way that we have been. On the special salary schedule, so the C and E part, we appreciate you pointing out kind of the confusing language. Anytime you have duplicative language or it appears that it's, something can fall under two different places, that it's good to get that cleaned up. Our proposal would be to take B, C, and D essentially, so the student support, and just add those to subsection E, which I guess could become subsection B, whatever you all wanted to do. But so take what's in section B and add that language to E level 1, or no, I'm sorry, E level 3. And then what's in C, add that to E level 2. And then what's in D would be added to level 1 under E. And we would specify that Jumpstart would fall under level 1, which my understanding now is that was what had been agreed to already moving forward. That those were going to be paid at the daily rate.
So the not specifically Jumpstart as a whole, but Kinder Jumpstart.
Oh, Kinder and Jumpstart. So I
Kinder
didn't understand.
Jumpstart were, I mean, that was agreed upon because of the level of participation that was taking place with
Right, because we
Kinder
have
Jumpstart.
many more kids, yes.
Right, so they're
Almost
going to be
close.
paid at the daily rate. At that, basically their agreed upon hourly rate for the school year prior to the Jumpstart taking place, for Kinder specifically. And then other Jumpstart, because it's not at the significant level of their normal classroom level, that's why they're being paid at the 30/50.
For
Right.
we call it Jumpstart
Jumpstart,
Summer School, and then that's kindergarten Jumpstart. And there's two different amounts of children that are being
Yes.
served in
Yeah.
those two different.
Does that make sense to you?
So just to clarify, moving to combine essentially B, C, and D with E, but separately.
Yeah,
So like
I'll
B
go
equals E1.
yeah, I'll rewrite those and send the language out.
Okay.
And redo the ABCs and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
1, 2, 3s.
let me just make sure. You said placing B at level 3. Is that what you guys were talking about? The pay of $18.75 per hour?
But the
We'll
pays would stay
combine-
the same.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll combine the similar, if it was misspoken, then we'll combine the 1875s, the 3058s, and the daily rate.
Combining the matching of.
Yeah.
Ease of transparency.
Yep.
Okay, and then elevating.
Eliminating half a page.
Okay.
And then
Hey.
And then maybe there's some wording in there that specifically pulls out Kinder Jumpstart to signify the significant level similar to their normal workload.
And I apologize, I didn't make the distinction between the
That's okay.
Jumpstarts.
That's okay. It's
We'd like
confusing.
we'd like to rename that at some point in time, because it gets very confusing when you're doing ARs, so.
Yeah.
We'll,
And then was there any room for improvement on the dollar amounts at those steps?
Because 3058 has been the pay since 2020
Okay.
and 1875 since 2020 as well.
That is lower than the long-term sub hourly
Rates.
rate.
And I think I started looking at those. I'll have to, while I'm working on this, then I'll start running some math to see if that's something that we have.
We'll pause on that for now then.
Yep, that would be great. On that note, I'm just gonna, just a side note, just why people are thinking and getting ready for the next thing. So in our finance system, extra duty is extra duty. So it's not been, historically, it's not been separated out into the levels of extra duty. And so it's a little hard to run some of the numbers to determine, okay, what is the extra duty of the teacher that takes gate at the football game versus the extra duty of the, the 1875, the 3058, and then to take a look at what those ratios are to determine, what the overall impact would be. So that's maybe why it hasn't been really addressed. We'll look at probably recoding those this summer so that those different levels can be examined a little closer.
Yeah, I would imagine itemizing that per employee would be a struggle.
Yeah, because especially considering that one employee could be on all three levels at varying times throughout the year. So we'd really have to actually break it down to the employee specifically. So.
Tara, you said collaboration time.
Yes. Okay. So regarding collaboration time, I know it was brought up a little bit earlier at the different levels. So I guess we just kind of wanted to open up the conversation and see, if you guys had thought about, is there appetite from anybody to continue on with the Wednesdays past next year? And if not, if you guys have thought about any other options for what collaboration might look like?
Well, I'm going to ask a clarifying question just because I want to make sure I understand correctly. Professional learning and collaboration opportunities for you guys, what is the definition of that compared to professional development?
So what we put in the article originally when we did the Wednesday would be the starting point, but I think there needs to be some clarification in that language as well. Professional development is different than professional collaboration.
Okay.
I would use what we have in whatever that article is.
Article
33.
33.
None of us will forget.
Yeah, everybody knows that. Don't ask me what page, but
Page 78. for those
yeah,
that are-
everybody
Thank you.
knows that one, yeah. So, you guys proposed that. And the reason that I was asking is because somehow we were talking about adding professional development maybe, and I was totally confused about that. So I wanted to clarify that we are talking about professional learning and collaboration, which according to what I understand, it is a process that is an ongoing with educators collaborating to research and achieve better results for our students that they serve, not learning activities planned for licensed professionals for our maintaining of our licenses. Okay?
Yeah, I would say that would be a general definition.
Okay. Honestly, the concern is when you guys brought this to us, you told us 5 extra days of PL, professional learning or PLCs. And how that would look, you said continue the Wednesdays as well. And after looking at the information back from our bargaining unit, that would be unratifiable in both manners, keeping.
Okay, so clarification real quick. So Article 33 says that basically everybody's already been paid through the 26, 27 for Wednesdays. And then through additional stipends, new teachers that have come on have been paid up to the 26, 27 school year. So that's been taken on board already to pay this year's new teachers and next year's new teachers, right? I mean, I'm just making sure I'm on the same page with everybody, right? Kara?
Sorry, Lori and I were having a
Okay. I think I'm okay on that one. So I think the idea would be, is there something that would be ratifiable that would look like the Wednesdays to continually have that professional time reflection to be able to look at student data and have those collaboration? And then my other question would be, we've asked a couple of times for your complete data piece from your original survey that was sent out, and I don't know that that's been sent, or if you've been able to send that. And then I think there was a survey that was sent out about collaboration. Would we be able to have that as well?
Well, I can
Complete
tell
data
you
set?
that I am willing to share the percentages of the questions that were asked. And the first one was just based on the thought of a PD and because the conversation steered towards PD. And then I realized, wait, your letter said professional learning and PLC. Let's ask that question.
Okay.
And so there was
Like
those two.
the comment section, you had said that during that, putting together that comment section of your original survey, you had really pulled out the comments that specifically targeted a certain topic. And we had asked for all of those comments that weren't personal identifiable. Are we
And
able
that's
to
what
get
we
all
want.
of that?
I've already given pretty much all of those non-personal identifiable comments. I looked back.
And so every single one of those had to do with safety and security.
The majority of what I've got, let me find my negotiation survey.
And then, the percentages for the questions that you ask about, I don't think you asked much in terms of like personal comments on that one. And the second survey was there.
I leave it open for comments on both so I've sent out 3 total surveys to our bargaining unit. I've shared the majority of the first comments. The second one, I just said, please give DCNEA any additional feedback about these topics. And then they gave me a lot of feedback. 129 people have responded with the open response. 250 people responded with the survey. And for increasing hours of, because you had mentioned hourly or daily, adding days, and it is quite unratifiable on those portions.
On both
Both
hours
days
versus
and
days.
hours?
They,
Okay.
in just general with PD.
Okay.
Um,
So if that's the conversation that's kind of leading us, what would it look like in terms of continuing Wednesdays after the 26, 27 school year?
I don't believe that is also even ratifiable because the majority of the comments are get rid of Wednesdays.
Okay.
Um,
And
There,
what reasoning around that?
a lot of the times you have to also, I think, look at, I didn't ask which level anybody was at or anything like that, but a lot of the times, it's not that people don't want to collaborate, it's that we are kind of boxed in and have to do certain things and certain times. So at the middle school level, for me, Wednesdays, I have one Wednesday of the month, I meet with my math professional learning committee, which I've already met with them on Monday, not saying that we don't do things we need to do as well, but I've already met with them on Monday, now I'm meeting them Wednesday. And then the next time I'm meeting with my whole math, 6th, 7th, and 8th together, but we don't always need to meet once a month. And then there's another time that I meet with my grade level team, which is the team I've already met with 4 days on top of that.
Okay.
And then there's an extra day, so sometimes it's a celebration for the whole school and we come together, or
Okay.
sometimes it goes back to my first math PLC, 8th grade level. So that's what it looks like at the middle school in my school. So each school looks differently, but then we're asked to look at our radar, or it's kind of driven differently than what I think the intent of Article 33 was.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I think I would just ask, so from like the elementary level, or Patrick, from your level as well, what you guys are hearing and seeing at your levels, because you don't have the team time like they have at the middle school level to collaborate like they do. So you've got your plan time and then you have your Wednesdays. So what are the thoughts from your guys' perspectives?
I think that, at least with me, we start off it doesn't take as long as you guys think, since we already meet during PLCs. We've already collaborated, and then we only have things to talk about for like 5-10 minutes, and then we're sitting there going, now what do we do?
So who sets how is your agenda set for that collaboration? On Wednesdays?
We know it's supposed to be teacher driven, so
It's sometimes strongly suggested to do these things.
I brings on my level, I'm on the BLT, so I take anything from BLT to that time, because that's our only time together outside of PLC. On some Wednesdays, we don't have as much, we talk about our grades at my grade level, doing our grade book and that, so we use at least once a month to definitely go over that. But not all Wednesdays are always as intense.
yeah, I mean, it may be once a month,
Definitely once.
every 6 weeks, we're actually filling the whole time slot with what we're supposed to do.
I do
Curious
know
at the high school, when and how do you guys, I've sat and I've happened to walk in your math fields. When do you guys sit down and have time to talk as professionals? Because we've got a set calendar, board sets, we've got curriculum the board approves, we've got resources that the board approves, all those things are set. So when do you guys sit down and talk about, for example, these freshman courses? Only on Wednesdays? Because I know when I walked in, you guys were talking about the need for maybe a remediation freshman course. But how much time, where are you finding the extra time to sit down and look at the data, have those conversations, look at course descriptions, codes, et cetera? Because I don't know how you're gonna do that in one Wednesday a week.
Yeah.
Like, when do you get time to do that at the high school?
I mean, the course description is something that we've done years ago. I mean, that doesn't really change too much. You have your course
Because
description.
that probably was a bad example. But when can you sit down, like, what are the courses you teach?
I teach algebra 2 and pre-calculus.
How many algebra 2 teachers are in high school?
Right now, this semester, there's myself, Mr. Keller, Marty Dietz, Will Pinksterhouse, and Hitler, and Cindy Howard. So there's 6 of us.
If there's 6 of you, if you have a question, you want to bounce things off of one of them, which I'm sure you do. When are you doing?
Generally, what we do is we alternate because, of course, more than one of us teach more than one subject. So we, at least, and this is what we do in the math department. So we will, we'll say, okay, this week when we meet, these are the courses that are gonna meet this week to talk about the test or the upcoming test that's coming up, things that you're doing, so on and so forth. Okay?
On Wednesdays, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, on Wednesdays, yes.
And do you do that any other time besides Wednesdays?
Not as a group.
Okay.
Now, I'd be lying to saying I will go to
Yeah.
my teacher next door,
Yeah.
because me and Bill are right next door, and we will talk about
Sure,
things.
absolutely.
And say, hey, this is what I'm doing, what are you doing, and stuff like that. So maybe not as a whole team, but I know that I know, at least in the math department, I know we do bounce off ideas and maybe in a smaller group.
So what percentage of the Wednesday conversation, just asking that
Right.
information, of those 1 hour conversations, whatever, pertain to algebra 2?
Just algebra 2, it would be, again, it all depends, because sometimes we meet as an entire department and we might be talking about all the subjects all at once, you know? And so it's not just a conversation about algebra 2, but once we're doing this, how is this leading into the other subjects? So we do stuff like that. And then we will spend, depending on how many people we need to work on, it could be anywhere from a quarter to half the time dedicated on that one subject, if you're meeting with someone.
But that, I guess what I'm trying to get is an idea of like, if I'm teaching algebra 2, right now, if I'm at the high school, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go find one of my colleagues or buddies, and we're gonna be planning on our own. Because we don't teach in isolation, it's not an individual sport, so you're probably seeking other people, but you're doing most of that on either your professional plan time or outside your contract day, correct?
I generally don't do too much of that. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but outside my contract time, no, I don't. And on my plan time, it's not a whole heck of a lot, because a lot of times I'm just like needing to bounce an idea off real quick. I just need some feedback. It's like a 5-10 minute conversation.
It'd be interesting to see from the high school enrolled how many people, and I'm sure it varies, but, you know.
I honestly don't think I could tell you that, because just because it is so different for every subject.
But what I'm hearing basically from middle school, or at least from DCMS and that elementary level, there's time throughout the week, whether it be with your team time or with your other times that you have with your other grade levels, to do a lot of the things that are happening with it.
Write an email if there's a question. We don't wait for Wednesday. If we have a question, I mean,
And then the
most
high
of the
school
teachers
is,
are looking at data anyway.
right, and then the high school is really kind of using the Wednesdays kind of as they're intended, because there's not any overlap throughout the week. Is that what I'm hearing? I'm just asking for clarification.
I mean, that's what we use on Wednesdays for most of all, yes.
Okay. This is a great conversation.
But I think what teachers we're looking for with this extra collaboration time and thought of is like, so I have never been able to contact my high school counterparts for Algebra 1
That
and
vertical.
sit down with them, because I have these things on my plate that I have to do.
Right.
And I think it's the restrictiveness of how it was interpreted, that we have to have the agenda, we have to have this laid out like this, we have to meet with these people, that kind of thing. And so I think that's where a lot of this pushback from people on our side is coming from, is they feel that it is not teacher driven, but more administrative driven. And it's not that our administrators are coming in and going, you gotta do this, they're not doing that. But it's just within the confines of like, well, here's your day, here's this time, here's this. So I think like elementary, I've spoken with an elementary special kind of group teacher through that talked about how they were being told they have to meet with this group, when they were like, no, I want to go meet with this group because I help support this one, and then I do this over here with this one. And I don't really need to meet with the PE and the counselor and all of those guys, because we're not gonna have that much to talk about.
Right.
So,
Can I get throw out another perspective, add to your point about not being able to vertical or horizontally plan across board? I think another way to look at it, the limiting factor in that isn't what's being dictated in that one day a week, it's the amount of time in general. Because there's time within the building that's necessary. There's also additional time outside. So I would contend not enough collaboration, period. There's definitely not enough in high school. So conversation, what I would like to consider is a parallel discussion as well, isn't the limiting or whatever that is, it's we even have time. And that's been, I think, a premise behind the board's interest last year. It's an interest in ours going forward. So collaboration is an extremely important component on top of professional content acquisition through PD. But it's that ability to sit down with your peers, given the design structures that we have. Those are the overarching parameters behind what's being discussed in the PLC. The teacher choice comes within those. So that's the alignment, sustainability, the assessment schedules, the progress monitoring schedules, all those pieces. But I've sat in your PLC, I've sat in your PLCs. There is a difference, I think, that needs to be discussed and properly tightened down between buildings, but collaboration is extremely valuable for the setup of what we have in the designs of our curriculum and assessment structures.
well, and I think you have to look at it this way too, is you're asking teachers who have already taught all day long to now spend another time together. And they view it is an exhausting kind of day. I mean, there used to be either early release or late starts that allowed teachers to still contact students but have collaboration too, not asking us to stay longer than what we're already there.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go right ahead.
I wouldn't mind going back to after lunch, releasing the kids and spend 2-3 hours with my teammates. I could probably do that and we had it where paras were working and you watched the littles. Cause I'm only elementary, I don't know any of that. But we had paras that would watch the littles and we could meet. And then we're out at a regular time and the rest of our week's just the same. You know, I don't have to stay late. I don't have to try to find childcare.
From an outsider perspective, from the conversation tonight, conversations I've had with the teachers in the district, it seems more like a buy-in issue than anything else. And the buy-in issue is centered around the lack of consistency from building to building. Looking at the grass is greener on the other side and what the Joneses have versus what I have as part of it. The flexibility within how it's done, which again, those 2 points are contradictory a lot of the times. If you've got too much flexibility, you're not going to have that consistency. Some want more consistency, some want more flexibility, and then the meaningful purpose. Is this work for work's sake, or are we actually doing the business of collaborating with an intent and a purpose that is going to actually get results, or are we just checking a box here? And some of the complaints I'm hearing are we're just doing work to do work.
I have a fourth piece to that. I'm sorry, Tammy.
Go for it.
Equity. I think there's an interest, particularly on the board side, for our staff and for the board is equity. Because if I look at the high school, you have 84, 85 minutes a day of personal plan. Zero collaboration, Wednesday. Middle school, you're asking for more personal plan, but you have 45, 47 minutes a day. 42 and 42, so you're at 84. Similar to the amount of time, but it's half personal and half team.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And elementary has made it work by being flexible like an aggregate. And so there's some equity pieces here between plan period, but also collaboration time that when we're having this conversation, I just want to say, Wednesdays are what we have in place now. I think what I heard them say earlier is, what ideas and what can we come up with? And I know there's going to be a high school committee to look at block and whether that has any harder conversation into collaboration. But how can we look at the equity interests for as close to similar percentages of plan time in a day for all levels, but also collaboration time. Because the glaring gap right now, sitting from my chair and my role, high school collaboration. There's minimum.
Well, and I think that you underestimate the chat communications that teachers have throughout the day too, and just in collaboration time. Because I know for like, in my grade level, yeah, I still meet with my team all the time, and my 8th grade math PLC. But we have also a chat that we talk, hey, did you think about this? Hey, I just had this problem. That kind of thing goes through our day generation. But Wednesday PLC for us is more of, I'm checking the box that we met. We're already doing the other kinds of steps throughout the week. So our Wednesday at middle school, so we're just checking the box.
What model could we have something that is more focused towards that vertical alignment and potentially horizontal if needed, to that is there that we just aren't doing right now, that would address some of the equity issues as well as not just check the box?
Well, I think part of the reason it becomes more of a check the box, besides the limitations of what we're told, which team we're meeting with and things like that, because you tell some people, this is your team to meet with, that's their rule, that's their follow, no matter what.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So I guess I'm hearing you say, some autonomy would be, useful, within some structure, obviously, to do what is being asked, with collaboration. But is there a different widget that we could be doing to address some of the things that you're talking about? Because, I'm hearing everybody except for Patrick has time or is using other time to do what the Wednesdays are actually designed to do. But the high school uses the time or is using the time to the best of their ability because they don't have any other time to do it. I get the whole technology piece. I get that, and that's very useful. I don't want to poo-poo that, but within the parameters of the negotiated agreement, obviously, the parameters of or the addition to contractual calendar or contractual time, is there a better way to do collaboration?
I think that early release for the students without asking the teachers to stay late is an ideal kind of situation, because we still get student contact days.
Okay.
And then, but we still get time to collaborate with each other as well. And we're not asking people to stay longer than their normal time.
Okay.
Where I know that there's been some big things come up of oh yeah, I have a child at the elementary, but where did they go? We've actually had children not being able to be found for a little while because of that kind of stuff. So
Right.
without having that.
Yeah, logistically, early releases are very difficult, especially with 1,700 students getting on a bus.
That with Wednesdays, our staff.
That's what I was.
So, those are all legitimate, but I think where he's going, and I think this, I'm just speaking for myself, the spirit is, they didn't have to be locked into windows. The district did that at this table through the negotiation process because of the need to get more collaboration time. But if it morphs into whatever, I guess what, I'm only speaking for myself, what are those options to look at moving more towards that equity model of collaboration and or that professional plan period across all levels, whether that's Wednesdays or whatever else. I think those are the conversations that I know I would like to be part of, because there's that need there, and that equity thing is big. For me, it's a concern.
Yeah, just from my experience over, the last couple of years of being within the Kisa community and doing, facilitating multiple days through that process, the number one thing that was brought up was collaboration time. I mean, hands down, not even close, was the ability to find time within whatever parameters. And I think, the district, we want to find a meaningful way of doing that so that everybody feels that it's a meaningful process and not just checking off the box. There's nothing worse than that. I mean, we've all been there. We've all done that. It's just a matter of, what have you seen? What have you heard of? What have you talked to other teachers about? What has other teachers within the district talked about of how that can be more meaningful?
I know that some other districts have like planned days in their calendar, like, okay, so this day is going to be maybe 2 days in a month or 1 day in a month. This day is the day that we do this much time with kids. We release them. It's a Friday. They go do whatever. And now all the teachers meet, and then you can plan to meet.
Yeah, there are early releases or yeah.
But have it all scheduled in the schedule already, so parents can plan, teachers can plan, and use it that way.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of why we threw out the idea of having those additional days.
Right.
I
Now-
mean, as an option, but
Right, as a potential option. The other
it's
thing
not the
too.
only option. I mean,
Right.
that's why it's good to hear what.
This
When
would
I
be
was
a
a-
question.
Go ahead, Michael.
A question for really anybody. As you're looking at that, if you were to move from where it's every week for 2 hours.
For 1 hour.
Or 1 hour, to where you were gonna do it as a day, I mean, if we're talking the equivalent amount, you're looking at 6 hours and change. So ideally, if we're planning that out in advance, it's 6 weeks window before you get to that collaboration. If you were to make it a whole day collaboration, is that gonna be beneficial for collaboration if you're having to wait 6 weeks? And B, is it gonna be too much brain drain for the people in the room trying to do it? And I'm not trying
No,
to squash anything.
That's a great point, because, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we don't want to do the every week,
But we don't want to.
but if we combine it all, we don't want to wait 6 weeks. So,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where that balance comes in, and I think, that's where there has to be a little bit of give and take on that.
Yeah.
And you did like in every other week, where it's a 2 hour instead of 1, that shortens that window and would make it easier to make the adjustments on what are we gonna do with the kids? Is it going to be an early release, or are we gonna give them some sort of a, some group activity? We're gonna pull in paraeducators, maybe we're gonna send them to the gym for like a day type thing.
Mike, I know nobody's really brought up the late starts. Now, I remember in 1920 when we were doing the late starts.
I've
Okay,
heard-
like they were at the high school,
Yeah.
there were no kids at the high school on late start days.
And elementary kids are wild.
So
Yeah.
I know that's, I mean, I just want to throw that out there. I don't know historically if the district has ever done early releases.
We have done early releases. Melissa, you might have to help me, because I was at Northwest at the time. We did do early releases, and I wanna say they were once a month.
Okay.
And we'd release at 1:30.
Okay.
I will tell you that, at that point in time, we didn't have after-school programs. And so, there wasn't the option for like the Y programs or things like that. So, I'm not sure if we'd run into the same concerns that you're bringing up for Wednesdays where we need childcare for our teachers and things like that. I don't know. But we did do that back, it was probably in the early 2000s.
It was before, when Collaboration 33 came in, is when that stopped. But that was the reason why the 2-hour PDs were added to the work days as well.
Well, but that's when we were doing, we went from early releases to late starts, and I think the late starts were replaced by the 33.
Oh, yeah.
Early releases were
prior to that, yes.
There was some major concerns with the late starts and
Oh, yeah.
attendance numbers and.
Yes,
How does
that's
it-
what I heard too.
How does an early release start impact your seat hours for KSDE?
They would be classified as PD time, so it's 0.5 time. Trying to think if there is a special calculation on that one.
I don't know, I guess my concern, just knowing that in hearing from some teachers and principals, there's concern about already being able to get the kids where they need to be, so, you know, and,
When that early release takes place.
well, just in general, losing student contact time
Yeah.
is going to affect the ability to, you know, to do all the things that you need to do.
Right.
So I'd wanna be very careful that we're not sacrificing a ton of student contact
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
However, I also, on the other hand, I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth, collaboration is very important to ensure that you're maximizing your student contact time, so,
And I know a big push for collaboration was that teachers wanted to get together as grade levels. And by saying that, I mean across, like, all second grades coming together.
for like
Like back when we used to do
Yeah,
that.
like when we used to do that, and then that got taken away.
It's coming next year, I think, want to be by grade levels.
And I think that would,
That's gonna be during the day.
well, and I
And I
mean,
have an unqualified para who's never taught before teaching my class.
The challenge of this, you're hitting the crux of it, because there is no, I mean, we're trying to find a consensus where it's the best possible option for everybody. Because every level's different, but right now, I mean, like I said earlier, there's not equity when it comes to collaboration. That's the big donut hole.
Elementary is like every Wednesday, it's like a lot. We did, I mean,
right.
I'm not
It's a
saying,
redundancy of the every Wednesday.
I'm not saying cut it completely, but every Wednesday is a lot.
Was
Well, and
there
then-
anything suggested within your survey of, like, they felt like would be?
I think one of the questions in there was the talk of adding a day for it, and that was one of the ones that was kind of.
Sprinkling it throughout, yeah. Not doing a whole day of professional learning because that is brain dead stuff if we do an entire day. But doing, sprinkling a day throughout the year instead of every Wednesday, take it and sprinkle it throughout and say on a Friday or on a Monday, actually it'd probably be better Fridays, so that parents can choose to take their kids on the weekend or whatever.
Kind of like an early release or something?
But sprinkle it throughout the year instead of every one of these. Because the problem with the problem with Wednesdays, 1 hour after school, now I cannot at all help any of my students who need tutoring because they have sports all the other days and I go and do the other sports activities too. So now I'm limited to, oh, sorry.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's also, I know, a frustration, but I think a lot of the comments that I've heard from people when we're talking about this is the frequency of it cannot be overused. Like every single week is a little too much, but they still want to keep the collaboration of of things. We've had suggestions of remove the 2-hour PDs and make those on our work days PLC days instead of PD time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those aren't really something that we need to have separate PD for. We just had PD the day before and now we have 2 hours of PD. What do we really, that kind of thing. There's,
And I've heard sprinkled in here, different people have said, chunks of time to be able to do vertical alignment, chunks of time to be able to do, know, district-wide grade level collaboration. So, I mean, because I think we're pigeonholing ourselves and we're thinking that, it's just like if we do, I'm just gonna throw this out. This is not, I mean, if you do a, release once a month, early release once a month, and we just do that, the same thing, we're gonna get to the exact same thing as every Wednesday. But if we strategically create that to have, maybe, certain times we need to do the collaboration within the building, but then certain times we now have collaboration that is vertical, and then certain times that the collaboration is district-wide grade level, so it's not gonna look the same every time we do it, but it and then the balance of not losing instructional time is a big thing. I mean, until we are proficient in, multiple areas, I think that has to be upfront and focused. I know our population, lends itself to, some challenges, but we have to have instructional time, because that tier 1 instructional time, I mean, Dr. Springson preaches this every day. That is the most important. What you do in the classroom is the most important, and then the collaboration then supplements that. It helps that to be the most effective. So, I think the conversation is going really well. If we can come to that point where we're bringing ideas to the table to say, we think that this might work best, and how can we do that, overall, and I mean, I don't know, I'm getting to the point where I don't know what to say. Say something smart, Dr. Springson.
I just think this is the right conversation to have, right? If we can, maybe as teams, bring something back to the table to look at some options, because it is, speaking for the team, collaboration is an interest.
And teachers want to collaborate with each other, to be honest too. It's just that we want to find a way where we can fit it into our day so that it's not additional into the night,
Okay,
where,
and we need you guys to bring your ideas.
and.
I mean, because here's, from the day one that I started as administrator, as soon as I said something, things changed. I had been a teacher for 7 years, became an administrator, and all of a sudden now it was top down. Even though I was trying to have a conversation with those teachers. So we need to all bring things to the table. So, I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge from different districts that you've been in. What worked well, what didn't work well. Same thing here, same thing with the others that have been in different districts. And I think we all want to get to that same point. Maybe we look at it a little bit differently, but, I think the ultimate goal is to make it purposeful, have collaboration, and get the most out of that instructional time that we have with the students. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay,
I think we're saying the same thing.
I think you're right.
And I think that, a few people have thrown out a few ideas to me, but I want to go get them in concrete, because that was in passing, we were having conversations.
Absolutely.
But things like, take a day out of the month and do, like, I know I keep saying early release, because that's what makes most sense.
Yeah.
Because then you'll still have the kids come, but then they'll leave early, and then collaborate at that moment. Or somebody said that there was in the calendar built-in specific, this is when we release, this is when, what your team is gonna go do, they're gonna go meet with this team, or this team's gonna go over here, or whatever. So, and I don't remember how many times they said that happened in their district, so.
Yeah, and I don't know about the feasibility within your district because of the size of your district, but we do have some districts that they will take like an entire day, and they will use it for, in the morning, you're going to meet with this group and you're gonna do the vertical alignment and the curriculum mapping together. And then in the afternoon, you're gonna meet and do the horizontal mapping and curriculum alignment and do that all together. And so like, that's a part of it, but they do that, like the district that I'm thinking of does that as a PD day. And they're calling that PD instead of calling it collaboration. So again, I don't know how that plays into the semantic argument.
Yeah, I think the semantics of it. I mean, we have a high school that can facilitate that. I mean,
And so basically.
space is not an issue. I don't
They
think.
gave up, a professional development day where they bring in, say, NESDAQ or whatever to work on that type of alignment and collaboration. We've got others that I'm thinking of Liberal right now, where what they will do is they will have a 1 day per week which it sounds like some of this is already going on where they have their team time. And they'll do the team time during their plan, but they're only doing it 1 day per week during their plan. And what they'll do is they'll go in and do these types of collaborations, what's working, what's not. They'll also do some peer-to-peer drop-ins during that time. Go in and see, hey, what's my buddy doing that I can steal, and or flip side, see something and then come back later when nobody's listening and say, hey, you might want to change that up a little bit. And so those types of activities are going on. And they're all kind of all over the place, but I mean, those are definitely things that could be considered. But I mean, just the math of it, if you were looking, because it's an hour a day for 36 weeks essentially, right? So you're looking at roughly 6 extra days worth of work. And I don't know, unless you can just do something crazy to increase the buy-in, I don't know where you're gonna come up with 6 days.
Well, and I mean, maybe it's not 6 days. Maybe it's 3 within the calendar, or which would equate out to 6 half days. I mean, I think there's a wide variety of options for us to bring, but I think, I don't know. I just get this is my first year doing this is in this way, and it's almost like we're like, got this really good idea, but I'm not gonna tell anybody. That I just get that feeling. And I don't work that way. I mean, I'll just be perfectly honest with you. I mean, if I got a good idea what's worked well, I'll be honest with you, the calendar that we put together at Wixington for this year, it took a half day. It was an early release day every quarter and condensed it down to 2 full professional development days. I looked at their calendar and I'm like, I don't know that this is going to work, because we went from 0 professional development days, which we use for a variety of stuff. Professional development, collaboration, building meetings, those types of things. We used them for a lot of different stuff. So I'm just kind of talking about this, but I walked into the district and there were no professional development days except for 1 in the spring. And so we lost instructional time, but we added a quarterly professional development early release. And that was productive for us in the situation that we were in. And then we started talking about we need more collaboration. So they took those 4 collaboration days and condensed them into 2, 1 in the spring and 1 in the fall. I don't know. I haven't asked anybody to see how it's going. I just looked at the calendar overall for the health of the teachers and the students and was like, I don't know if that's going to work. It looked okay on paper before, but then I looked at it again and I wasn't sure. But I mean, if you got a good idea, I think we throw it out there, even if you're not even sure if it's a good idea.
Is there flexibility within the number of PD days you currently have to transition some of those PD days for this type of collaboration?
I would be very hesitant to say that, especially with the rollout with the ELA curriculum. And then next year, not next year, but the year after, the rollout for the math. And I may be way out over my skis, so I'll be quiet.
I think this is the place to have it. conversations, and run a plus Delta, right? Because I can say the same, well, what about taking one plan period at the high school and we can make it a PLC, those that have common plan periods, try to get all that Algebra 1 teachers at the same time and 1 day a week's PLC of the plan period. And we can run through a lot of different options. And I think this is gonna have to be a multifaceted approach that we go into over time, because every single thing we bring out there is gonna have pros and cons. So what's that consensus that we said? Move the district, the majority of the people, majority of the way. I think, I think we're at a point now where we know we're sunsetting at the end of next year, a piece that was put in at this table to do over 5 years. And now what? I think we had a conversation prior to this about buddies. We need to be able to have somebody. Collaboration has been at the root of most, if not all, what we've talked about. I mean, we know with the types of teachers that we're bringing in, our apprentice programs, that getting people outside of the isolation into a group and a team is not only best for our students, but it's also best for our staff and retention. You guys are all experienced teachers. You still benefit from collaboration, but you're benefiting also those newest service profession teachers when they come in. It's the aggregate in the PLC. It raises all of our collective efficacy as well as our estimate of student achievement. And you guys have seen the data. I'm preaching the call to choir here. So I think we need to look at everything, but be open and honest about what are the pros and cons. Because frankly, I don't think there's anything we're going to come up with that hasn't been tried already, either in some of our prior districts or, but we just need to find what works for us.
I just really appreciate the space to have the conversations and see where you guys are coming from and kind of hear from different perspectives on our team what we're looking at and some of the reasons why. So I wanted to talk about the collaboration piece because depending on what we decide to do, it would have a decent financial impact. So before we got into the overall compensation piece, I just wanted to get that one out there to have those conversations and see what the thoughts were. So I appreciate the conversation, and then if you guys would be willing to think about some of those things that we discussed tonight, and both sides can bring some proposals back. And
Is there a way, I mean, can we use a Google Drive to create something for us to put ideas into?
Like a brainstorming document?
Yeah, I mean, a brainstorming spreadsheet or something along those lines. I mean, I don't want to put much parameter on it because it's one of those things where, I mean, you may have seen 2 or 3 different things, and being able to, explain it may be hard, but I mean, if we threw everything in and then we could take some time to talk about it at our next meeting, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to add a bunch of extra work, but I also want those ideas to get out there.
I also think it may be useful, I'm like running things in my mind right now from all the ideas that you guys have had, but I think it also would be useful if we have a brainstorming document like that to put our current reality at the top so that everybody knows exactly how many 2-hour, there's 3 of them right now, 2-hour PLC PD days there are. How many radar days are there? How many district in-service days? Because I think we all know what they are, but I don't know that we fully get, like when you said the Wednesday thing, I was sitting there going, yeah, you're right. Wow, 36 Wednesdays, what is the equivalent of that? And I'd be happy if we want to do a brainstorming document to work with Kelly and Scott's office to put something together at the top so we can all look at that and go, okay, what is our current reality of how many days do we actually use for PD? How much time do we actually have for PLC? And the things,
Yeah. That'd be great.
And
And- And it might be helpful too okay, what does it look like at the middle school? What does it look like at the different buildings that you're a part of? Just so, just so we can see, I mean, to see some of those discrepancies, maybe you guys have talked about.
yeah, because it is at every elementary, I think, a little different than that, so.
every elementary would be very similar. They do 50 minutes of PLC a week and it's during one of their plan times. And then that plan time is then their 20 minutes of guaranteed 20, it's actually 25 is guaranteed through another source, so counselor, library, something like that.
Yeah, but then the Wednesday PLC
Right,
part.
what does that Wednesday look?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about their PLC.
The Wednesday pill? Is that what? It's hard to swallow. It's hard to swallow, right?
Yeah. And, so what I was gonna say is I had the negotiations drive already created and I've just made sure that everybody at the table is, I didn't add, I don't know if she wants to be added. But I added all of it's our side and your side, and then
Okay.
you guys we can throw a document in there, because I have no problem, like, if you guys are willing to hear what we have to say, but a lot of people the comments have been really concerned, like, well, we know that Article 33 goes away after this next year, but if you add days, that's in there. And then those days, I'm gonna be honest, from the past, when days have been added for certain things, and then those days get manipulated into something else on the calendar, and that's people's big concern,
Okay.
is that
We're still getting SAS for the COVID days.
the 3 COVID days that were for front loading
Those are
the
still being
professional
referred to.
Okay.
So it's kind of like we have to play that balance act of what is there.
Okay.
That's great, and then kind of whatever like I said, that's gonna be, depending on what we come up with, could be a heavy financial impact, so just something to think about before we discuss the compensation piece, so we kind of know what we're looking at,
Yeah, 'cause
so.
to what you're kind of crunched some of the numbers loosely, and just to, if we were to do the 6-day spot, and
Yeah, 6 days is out there.
if we were gonna look at that, plus look at, say a COLA adjustment to
Right.
the base, combine them, it could be as much as $5,000 just to the base to offset adding the time and doing that. And I don't know if that's gonna bankrupt the district.
Yeah, that would definitely make because the reality of it is that the district stands to have an increase to the general fund and the LOB in the range of about 1.4 million. Okay, now what the difficult part about that is the CPI that they increased base state aid was 3%. The actual reality to our general and LOB is about 1.7% increase. And so, we're fortunate in that we're relatively flat in terms of our FTE. We have some decline. That factors into that. So when we start to talk about the financial piece, you've heard me say this before. I definitely take a holistic view of the entire thing. I know we are sitting around a table talking about negotiations with the certified staff, but there's twice as many classified staff within the district as well that we have to consider as well. So when we take a look at, and I ran a lot of the numbers already, that when I'm taking a look at how to divide that amount of new money along with potential, money that has been transferred or at-risk money that we can reclaim. I went ahead and took a look at, the overall financial, the financial burden of salaries for certified staff is around 39% of the overall impact. And then our classified staff is at around 25%. So there's gonna be a little bit of disproportion to how much money the certified staff is going to get versus some of these other classifications. And I did that to try to come to a number that we're going to be able to say, okay, here's the number for certified staff. Here are the things that we've talked about thus far. And here's their impact, or here's, we can do this. Maybe we need to do a little bit less here, but we can do a little more here. And basically come to a collaboration of where we need to get to. And that way then, we take into consideration also, or at least I'm taking into consideration that the para that is in your class may not make as much as the certified and doesn't have a representation, but things run much differently if that para is not there. And we still have to take care of those people as well. And so I try not to lose sight of the classified staff, even in the negotiations with the certified staff. Does that make sense? Because I mean, there's only so much new money that's going to come in. Does that make sense? I mean, so we're either going to need to, cut, building budgets to come up with more money to go towards, salaries, or we just have to know what our parameters are. Does that make sense? So, I mean, it's not great news. I wish I had unlimited money and we could just make more widgets and then we could do more. But I mean, that's the reality of it is, we were told we were getting 3%, but we only get 1.7% increase. And then, that doesn't even factor in the increases that we're going to see to special education that we're in the rears on, because the legislature won't put any more than $6 million into a pot of money that, we should have put in $24 million just to stay even from what we did this year. So I think when we get to that point and we're talking about the financials, I'm an open book. Okay. And I mean, I don't know any other way to do it because anybody can make suggestions to me. I don't mind. But this is the way I've handled negotiations for the last 5 years. I just say, here's how much money I'm expecting us to get. And then this is how much everything's going to cost. And then we go from there. Does that make sense?
Put some projections together on, what it looks like if we do add days and stuff like that. So I think if we wanted to go ahead and start that brainstorming document for collaboration time, if you guys are comfortable with that, and then when we come back next time, if we want to have a deeper dive into that piece, and then we can get into the compensation step and column and some of those other final items on that list.
And I have stuff I could show you this time. Next time we meet, we may have had some other conversations that will solidify a few other things, but I can go over that to begin with, to kind of kick the meeting off on a real positive note. Gotcha. So, I mean, at least that way, and then I'll have some papers also. That way, because I don't want to share, the spreadsheet that I've got put together has way too much information in it. Even for me, but I'll have some very solid, dollar figures that will be able to kind of give a summary of what we'll be talking about next time.
Do you have like a per day breakdown of what that could cost?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I have what it's going to cost for us to move steps. I have a per day breakdown. I have a percentage COLA increase on the base. I mean, I have a lot of different factors already kind of plugged in and ready to look at. I've already plugged in the increase. I mean, it's not a significant amount, but the increase to what would be paying our pre-service, teachers, that's factored into it. We've had discussions at the insurance committee meeting at what it would cost the district to, have to pay more towards insurance if the board ever chooses to do that. Supplementals. So there's a lot of different factors and there's a lot of different things in each one of those things that I've tried to also take into consideration as well. When you're working with 120 employees, it's much different than working with 450 certified employees, let alone the 700 other classified employees and administrators and classified exempts. So I'm still learning, and working through, some of that learning curve. So.
Okay, and then this is the question that'll probably get me beat up in the parking lot. Looking at mill levies, you are about 6 points below the state average. And has that been discussed?
Okay, so.
Patrick wants to go on mute.
Oh, look at the
Okay,
time.
so there's limiting factors on that. I mean, so, obviously we're held to the 20 mills for the general fund. We're already maxed out at our 33% on the LOB, which we already, we already have put those mills out there. We're at 8 mills for capital outlay, which is our max. The one area that we can manipulate is the bond and interest, because there was a decision that was made to drop the bond and interest mills from 11 mills to 2 mills, which I've had multiple conversations. So there's no mills. What I'm trying to get at is there's no mills to manipulate that would increase money for salaries. So that's because all of the pots of money that we would be looking at are already fixed based on we're capped out. So the LOB would be the one, if we had not been capped out at the 33%, we could look at moving up on that one and look at that as an additional revenue source. But we're already there, and so there's really nothing for us to manipulate. And if we go back from 2 mills, which we're at 2.3 mills now, if we went from 2.3 mills back to 11 mills, then I would get beat up every time I went out in public. So that's a balancing act. I mean, there's a lot of different factors with that one. We're still 2015 bonds on that one, and so we get about 80% state aid, which is unheard of. But the decision was made that we could spend down our cash reserves in that area, but that's the only area we can spend that money towards.
So it's essentially not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it can only be used for capital or bond and interest. The only time that it can be even touched is after those bonds are paid for. That then usually is held in there for about 2 years, and then it moves to capital outlay. It's not even a moving it to contingency that could be used eventually for something.
Knew about the possibility of moving to capital outlay,
Right.
which would reduce the need to put other money in capital
Right.
outlay, which could,
Right. Yep. Definitely.
it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well,
We
and
didn't know how much of a
Well,
possibility.
and it's the idea of, okay, so we've transferred X amount of money to capital outlay to have for capital outlay, and Jason and I have had this conversation. I mean, is there the need to, instead of move it to capital outlay, we use it for human capital? And that's a that's a key piece in looking at the numbers as we move through. You know, the other piece of it too is that, who knows what they're gonna do, but, the task force for funding, they've been asked by the governor's office, or actually the budget office, to operate every year. But I mean, they're those ones that they're like, yeah, we got an idea, but we're not sharing it with anybody. And we have no idea what they're doing. And so we probably could see a significant decrease in our funding just based on, what they want to do with at-risk money.
Okay.
So
That was,
yeah.
it was more of a,
Yeah.
sample, see if it was something
Yeah,
better.
yeah. No, I mean, our mills are pretty tight. I was, looked at those even before I took the job, and even compared to Wissington. And I mean, we're pretty fortunate that from 24-25 to 25-26, we had $100 million increase to our assessed valuation, which does help our mills. So that's a positive. Now, some of that assessed valuation will come back off because of the abatements. So I mean, we'll still see an increase. I mean, I got my tax, from a house, but we'll still see an increase, but it's probably not going to be 100 million again in our assessed valuation. So yeah, but it's good that we keep seeing an increase in our assessed valuation. I mean, that's a positive for the community.
Can I ask one question about Wednesday's collaboration currently right now? Is there any possible appetite to, if we do come up with putting Wednesdays not on Wednesday after school, sprinkling the Wednesdays throughout the year instead of after school, to eliminate the next year's Wednesday after schools? Does that make sense? Did my question make sense?
I think we're open to the discussion.
Okay.
So, sorry, can I just clarify and make sure I understood? Because my little schedule brain over here has been working a little overtime. So what you're saying is to take away Wednesday collaboration after school for next school year, but then somehow work it into sprinkling that throughout
The calendar somewhere
the calendar.
with maybe some
Just
early
for
release.
next year. or-
Just for next year or for
No, like getting
forever?
rid of that to compromise with it, to get rid of the Wednesdays after school, just get rid of them and move it into the already scheduled calendar that we have and sprinkle it in. Yeah.
So we would lose student contact.
Maybe a little bit, but not what I'm talking about, like doing the early release where I'm just thinking of like, when we have an assembly, we have a special schedule. And so we still have contact with our students, we still see every class, we still teach content. It's just adjusted accordingly to when we have to do our assembly. And so do something like that instead of having the Wednesday after school.
So yeah, and by losing student contact, I mean that if we're going to have PLCs for the last 2 hours of the day, students aren't receiving instruction for the last 2 hours of the day. It doesn't matter.
So I think maybe we put together that spreadsheet, put that on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an option.
And Debbie Downer over here, but just keep in mind that everybody that's in the district up to this year has been compensated for that.
Be fair too, those people who were compensated the first 2 years were compensated before the cost of living increased, so.
I wasn't here, I just know that a portion of money, very significant portion of money for those 2 days was given.
Yeah.
For those 5 years.
And then if
So,
you look
and
at
I mean-
an hourly rate at this point, my money is,
Yeah, but I also look at the overall cost what that money could have been used for in terms of ESSER. And I mean, you know, there's multiple things that could have been done that, and it was chosen to be done that, and that was decided around this table. So,
I think we can go ahead and just start that document
Yep.
and then Amy, if you put that piece on there about the
Yep.
current reality, and then we can come back on Monday. So next Monday is when we're slated to meet again. I think that's the only other date we have on the calendar right now.
is that
Monday the
Okay.
4th.
And I think you shared that with me. If I just looked at the right shared drive, it only has like one TA.
That's the only
Okay.
thing it has.
All right, very good. I'll just create it in there. And then,
Can we get the proposed calendar for next year in there so that we can kind of
See where the
Look at that.
professional development days are and stuff.
I want to make sure I have the mysteries.
The
Most,
The calendar's
most
the thing
recent
that
draft
gives us-
might be good.
Yeah, that's what gives us the goosebumps. It's like goosebumps, you got it.
And Harvard.
Where's Carrie Baker?
Yeah.
About 5 minutes or so.
Did you, have any of that sample language you wanted to drop into that negotiated agreement
Yes.
file so that we can see it?
Yes, I will.
Well, not the file, the drive,
right?
Yep.
and not the agreement, the negotiations.
Gosh, it's late.
I was gonna say it's
It's
getting
late.
late.
Yeah.
The brain and the mouth are not anymore.
So we need to get one of the energy companies, put solar panels on your roofs. Get you one or two of the windmills.
We don't want to own solar panels. Say it out loud.
Oh, wow. I really appreciate just all of the conversations today. Yeah, I've learned a lot and it's really beneficial and I just appreciate you guys. So. Well, I feel like if we only have one additional date, that means we have to be done.
Considering my schedule looks really a mess until the last week of school. Yeah.
We're just gonna see if we can't make that happen.
We're gonna make you stay overnight and start at 6 o'clock.
Okay, oh, it's for me, not for me.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not to fix
Thoughts?
it. I think that we appreciate you guys taking time and having conversations and really enjoy this.
This is good. This is a good conversation.
So 4 p.m. on Monday, the 4th?
We can end this. And Kara, if Mike and I